Imagine if we made it a crucial part of education to just understand human anatomy and physiology. We would then understand why, when we have a bad mood or a mood swing, or we are feeling some sort of way, that there is a chemical and physiological reason for that happening.
Hmm.
And we have control over the next few steps that we take and how we can impact that sensation, that feeling, that mood. Uh, if we had that basic understanding of human anatomy and physiology, I would be out of a job, but it'd be a much healthier world. I had a
Right.
client who rolled her ankle today. She's 81 years old. If we had an understanding, she wouldn't have anxiety about what to do now.
What's up, you beautiful beasts? I'm Katie. I'm on a mission to help humans become their favorite versions of themselves and to strive for overall health by healing their relationship to food and exercise, healing their relationship to their body, and most importantly, healing their relationship to themselves, all without ever having to step on a scale. I have had the privilege to talk to all kinds of different humans who have been through a plethora of experiences just being a human and existing. I believe that every single time someone shares their story, at least one person listening will learn from it, be inspired by it, and maybe, just maybe, even change the entire direction of their life. These are the stories of humans unveiling their beautiful beast. Keep listening. This is the Unveiling the Beast podcast. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. And I'm glad you're back for two reasons. A, I really like shooting the shit with you. And B, I didn't ask your story last time because of, we were just talking about rabbit holes and talking about anything and everything, which is totally awesome. And this is the podcast of stories also. So are you open and willing? Oh, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, I'm back with Dylan Foss. I will put his previous episode in the show notes. It was pretty cool. And I also wanted to add from that episode, I made a really corny, cheesy um, infomercial
That's
commercial
right.
thing, and I'm gonna put it right here.
Did you just give birth? Get your body back
To get your body back.
for just $19.99 today.
But wait, there's more.
If you call in less than 10 minutes, you'll get 2 additional Get Your Body Backs.
Plus shipping and tax.
Boom.
Okay.
Love it.
So are you open and willing to tell the listeners a little bit about your story? Like how did you how did you get into the fitness industry, or if there's like something else underneath that like
Hmm.
maybe it wasn't at first the fitness industry, like what's your story?
Um, how much time do you have? No, just kidding.
2 hours. Just
Good.
kidding.
Good. I don't have that much time, so I promise you it'll take less than that. There is um a lot of factors that go into like who we become, right? And who we are.
Mhm.
Part of it undoubtedly is the card you're dealt, which is like you can't control. And it can be a blessing and a curse. It's your family, it's the world you come into, it's the scenario and situation, the socioeconomic status, the amount of siblings and supportive people in your life. I was blessed to have 2 hardworking parents that both already had kids in previous marriages, and they got together and had me. So I was technically one of 5. All of those kids were within a 4-year span of each other, and I was 6 to 10 years younger than all of them. So in a way, studies say that anybody that is 5 years younger than their closest sibling is technically an only child. Just the way that they get treated and the way that they get attention. Um, and then on the other hand, I had the blessing of basically always having them around, having them support me, having them help take care of me. having them be my role models in the good and the bad way. I got to see them screw up, and I decided I didn't want to do those things. And they all played sports for the most part. My oldest sister was a cheerleader. Oldest brother was a skateboarder. Uh, Other two brothers and sisters played basketball, baseball. So I just fell into this world of like I was always outside. I was always with my brothers and sisters. Fortunate enough, my parents supported us in all those endeavors. They, worked really hard to be able to provide a nice yard and things that I would have never been as grateful for now being a father, like to sit there and understand that my backyard had a swing set and a trampoline and a tree fort, and we got to play wiffle ball back there, and we had a basketball hoop on the garage. All of these things, none of them were nice. All of them were homemade with, they were held together by duct tape and whatnot. But they allowed us to kind of explore, and for me to gain this love for sports and just being outside and fitness obviously falls in line with that. Uh, my sister tore her ACL and she was about 14. I ended up having to go with her to physical therapy. I was, I don't know, 7 or 8. And I remember being there the first time and going, wow, this is so cool. Like imagine just being able to work with a bunch of athletes as a job every day. You get to hang out and you're, messing around and you get to shoot the shit. And I remember that being very cool. My sister ended up going to school for kinesiology. I ended up dealing with my own array of issues. I had herniated discs at 15, torn hamstring, broken foot, um, chronic back problems. And I started getting massages. I started learning and, getting introduced to these different things to help me be a better athlete, essentially. And so that all brought me to a head when I was graduating high school. I wanted to basically go to school for nursing or something in the health industry. I decided to not go to a big school. I decided to go play basketball and try out to go play basketball at a Division 3 school where my friend was going to play football. And while being there, I did make the basketball team. That basically challenged me to get as fit as I possibly could with, what I knew at the time.
Mhm.
And I ran into more injuries and issues being there because I was putting more, miles on my body than I ever had before. College sports is no joke, no matter the level. And I was spending so much time with the athletic trainer that I ended up going, "Hey, what is it that you do? Like, how did you get this job? How did you get this degree? Where do I have to go to learn this stuff? Because I find it fascinating." And sure enough, he told me to transfer to a school that was in conference. We had already played them. I had another best friend that was going there playing baseball. I transferred there. I started my athletic training degree. I started to train more with like a knowledgeable background that I was now getting into this for my, hopeful continued career of college basketball. And that all came to a head where I realized nutrition played such a vital role. Um, I didn't make the basketball team my first year that I transferred there. And I ended up getting introduced to this world of like entrepreneurs, most of which were in the world of health, nutritionists, dietitians, registered nurses, orthopedic doctors, naturopathic doctors, functional medicine practitioners. And I started to fall in love with nutrition. Now, this was my sophomore year. I was not playing basketball at the time, was still dealing with chronic injury, was trying to train, but was learning my way through like what to do, what not to do in fitness. Got my personal training certification, got my first nutrition certification, started an online business. The following year, I started my first internship as an athletic trainer, and that basically brought me through. I started training people, I started teaching people nutrition, doing groups of that stuff. And then I graduated with my bachelor's degree, decided I wanted to pursue, my master's in nutrition. So I started that my senior year. And that allowed me to basically, the online business allowed me to move to Florida. And that's kind of how I decided I didn't want to work with the athletes. I wanted to help people that didn't have all the resources, didn't have all the education, but needed it and needed somebody who was multifaceted, that didn't just look at the ankle, or, for the digestive system as the digestive system, but someone that understand kind of the whole picture. I didn't have a job, moved down here, crashed on my sister's couch. Can't thank her enough for her support. She ended up becoming a personal trainer. We ended up working together, but I drove Lyft and Uber in Florida to learn my way around. And every gym I went by while driving Lyft and Uber, I would bring a resume. So I started doing that. Finally, landed a job at a personal training gym here in Boca Raton, which is kind of where I've settled in and created my life. And I left that gym, found another one, worked there from COVID till my son was born a few years ago with my sister, and met, Amy, my girlfriend, there as well. And now we're here. Now we're here. So hopefully that wasn't too long-winded, but
No,
um,
that's good.
there's so many facets to it, right?
Yeah.
So many things could have went in another direction. I could have chosen when I got injured to just not care about my body. I ended up missing my senior season of basketball because I broke my foot after the first week of practice.
Mm,
And I stayed in touch with the team. I went to every practice, went to every game, did my rehab, still went to my internships, still went to my classes, was still getting my master's in nutrition. And that's when I started my own business, and my current brand, Limitless Theory. And I really, at that point, was when I decided, like, okay, I want to move to Florida. I want to do this on my own. I want to work for myself. I want to get out of this rat race that is athletic training, with the typical, career path. So yeah, that's it.
no, that's awesome. And then of course I assume after you had your son, which is kind of when you were started getting interested in training dads, right?
Correct. I eventually, uh, it just hit me. I was like, wow, I can so imagine how someone who doesn't have good habits or has never really been exposed to these things and why they're so important, how they could get caught up in the world of, I'm a dad, I'm tired, I have a career, I need to support my family. They just lose their self, right? And they lose
Yeah.
their idea of keeping themselves healthy and putting themselves at the forefront. And even with simple things, right? When you're a parent and you're busy, the the idea of like food that you can instantaneously grab and eat is so ideal for time
Hmm.
purposes
Yeah.
and for not having to think about it. So you can get straight away in that direction. You're constantly tired, you don't sleep. So fitness, it's like it's counterintuitive to think like I'll have more energy if I spend energy working out. But for the most part, that is true. If you work out on a consistent but not over the top basis, you will be more fruitful and more energetic. Simple things you need to keep up with. All of a sudden, you go from 25 or 30, now you're 45, and your kids are finally teenagers, and you look in the mirror and you're like, whoa, what happened to like me? What happened to being like
Yeah.
that kid that played high school sports and was like, energetic and in shape in college. And then all of a sudden, 3, 4 years, you spiral out of habits. And then 10 years go by, you don't even think about it. And now you've gained 15, 20, 40 pounds of, not healthy weight. It's perfectly fine to gain weight, but you want that weight to be, muscle, and you want it to be consistent, and you want it to not be something that's holding you back instead of creating more positive, you know, uh, energy in your body. So
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit.
let's hear it.
Um, the other day I saw your post on there's two types of people.
Mm,
And I
yeah.
was like, yes, and like it's a
Valid.
little bit more complicated than that. But I mean, like essentially you're right. Can you explain the post before I ask you my devil's
For
advocate
sure.
question? Okay.
Um, so this was more of a thought-provoking post. Uh, there's always a silver lining. There's never black and white in life. I want to put that out there. There's always gray area.
Mhm.
Um, and as we can tell, a two-party system is not good for political world or for regular world. So regardless of what we're talking about, let's take that into consideration, right? I like to I like to create um, outlets, right? I like to let people throw their ideas out there because I'm someone who I want to see how people think. I want to attain somebody else's ideas and help them or help myself create this more expansive, lens and version of the world that I'm living in. I can't create that world if I'm very limited in who I ask or I'm very limited in what I think or what I'm willing to listen to. So that post in general was to see what people would make of it, right? I left
Mhm.
it open ended. There are two types of people in this world. Um, that was on my story. The other one was a post and a reel, and it said there are two types of people in this world. There are people who pay attention to their health, their fitness, the food that they eat, and there are people who don't. Now, if we had said that 100 years ago, nobody would have fell into the category. There are people who think about their fitness, their health, their nutrition, their blah blah blah, because no one had to think about it 100 years ago. It was a normal part of society. All the blue zones in the world, no one thinks about it. No one has a Gold's Gym membership. No one's going to freaking Orange Theory in Sardinia, Italy, or Okinawa, Japan. So I just think it's more of a here and now. We're at this point in time where we have so many distractions. We can be pulled away from what's important from our vessel standpoint. And I think if you do not, if you don't give conscious thought and effort and intention to your health, it's undoubtedly going to go down the wrong path in this moment in time, this time
Mhm.
in human history. And that was the point I was trying to get across. Now, the secondary portion of that, the point I like to make when people do play devil's advocate is people spend plenty of conscious effort on so many other things in their life. They're at work for 8 hours a day, consciously doing tasks for someone else to make money, right? They're making a small hourly wage. Someone else is capitalizing on the work that they're doing at a much larger scale. Now,
Mhm.
while they're doing that, they're also thinking about what show they're going to watch that night, right? And even if they are thinking about what they're going to eat that night, they may not be thinking about how that food is going to affect them and make them feel better or worse or sleep better or whatever that might be. Um, so when people go, well, I just have so many other things and blah, 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 I'm not saying we all don't have many other things to think about or we don't get spread thin, but I think that should be a top of mind, intentional, conscious effort every day. What am I going to eat? How am I going to move my body? How am I going to slow down and kind of just get in tune with my body at least once that day?
Mhm.
And be in control of how I feel, or at least be in tune with how I feel and why it might be that way.
Right. And for the record, I loved the post. It was
No,
just
and I assume,
yeah, there was so much more I wanted to add to it, even though it wasn't my creation. But I was like, yes, and I think because things aren't black and white, it's always a yes and rather than a but. You know what I mean?
correct. That's a great way to
Um,
look at it.
Yeah, and so like the thing that came to my mind, just because I work with the people who are healing their relationship to food and exercise
Hmm.
because they went overboard, because their obsession with it and their
Hmm.
thinking about it,
Too
um,
much.
it was too much, and it was like an unhealthy obsession that went from like the goal being health,
Hmm.
and most of them the goal being shrinking as tiny as possible,
Unfortunately.
um, to not healthy for the mental state of mind. Does that make sense?
Valid.
And so there's that piece, and then there's another piece of people who are like stuck in a way, like maybe something totally traumatic happened to them. Maybe they lost a child. Maybe they lost,
Mm.
like they're grieving something. And they just can't seem to get up and take a step forward. And so those people also come to my mind. And so
Yeah.
again, I'm not bashing your post. I totally loved it. And like I was like, but what about this group of people? And what about this group of people? And
Can
and there's
I?
also the group of people who like just didn't grow up educated in nutrition and movement, and
Mhm.
they just don't know. Like
Yeah,
they're
lack of
ignorant, and not
education.
not in the bad way, but ignorance, like they just don't know.
I actually had this conversation with a client earlier today. I said, imagine if we made it a crucial part of education to just understand human anatomy and physiology. We would then understand why, when we have a bad mood or a mood swing, or we are feeling some sort of way, that there is a chemical and physiological reason for that happening.
Hmm.
And we have control over the next few steps that we take and how we can impact that sensation, that feeling, that mood. If we had that basic understanding of human anatomy and physiology, I would be out of a job, but it'd be a much healthier world. I had a
Right.
client who rolled her ankle today. She's 81 years old. She rolled her ankle 2 days ago. And everything from, should I heat, should I ice, should I move it, should I not, should I compress it, should I elevate it, should I take some sort of, NSAID immediately or wait a few days? What sort of food should I eat? Should I exercise it or move it or keep it stiff and put it in a boot? If we had an understanding, she wouldn't have anxiety about what to do now. She would have just known, well, I know that inflammation has to go in there for the first 48 hours. That's a healing process that needs to occur. Let's let that happen. And then let's hyper attack it after that with, things that are anti-inflammatory, food that's not going to create more inflammation, a little bit of an exercise regimen that just promotes blood flow and muscle contraction in the areas around it to flush out lymphatically what's building up there.
Hmm.
And if we had that understanding, I think the world would be so much different if that was a normal part of our education system.
Yeah.
Um, and unfortunately, that would make us all very independent of a lot of the big systems and corporations that are in
Yeah.
play and in power. That's a whole other conversation. Um, I did have a question for you. Why didn't you comment and say, and what about these people?
Well,
Because
I will now, but I that's
because
a good question.
that's where I think people like you and I bring a lot of value.
Yeah.
Our ability to have those conversations in a way where somebody who is just scrolling by can
Mhm.
catch their attention and go, huh, what was that comment about? What did that say? Um, I know personally when I see a post that's something like that, it's black and white, it's controversial, it's a headline, it's enticing, and then I see 700 comments, I'm like, well, I gotta breeze through and see where people are coming from. What are they thinking?
Right.
Where is this going? And you don't have to go very far, but it's thought provoking in the sense that you can just maybe take something with a grain of salt from that and then move
Hmm.
on with your day. But it changes your idea of the world out there, right? It changes the way that you make your next decision, and hopefully in a positive way.
Yeah.
So, uh, I too agree. We can't hyper focus on it. You have to know your personality. Some people
Hmm.
have addictive personality, right? And that is a genetic predisposition where people have a need and a hypersensitivity to dopamine. And so when they experience anything in life that ends up creating that dopamine dump in their brain, they get fixated on it. And that
Hmm.
can come from checking the scale, checking the comments. I mean, right? It can come from so many different things. It could be sex, it could be drugs, it could be alcohol, it could be gambling, it could be television, it could just be the idea of picking up your phone every time there's a notification or checking your iWatch every time it buzzes.
Hmm.
So there's always going to be um, those and situations, those gray
Yeah.
areas,
Yeah.
uh, which I personally always come into a situation with, but I think I do need to be more mindful that some people don't. I'll give you a good example of why. I posted a few weeks ago on Threads that I think running is hurting a lot of people's health.
Mm.
Within 24 hours, I had almost 200 comments, specifically, uh, probably 70% of them were from people who are very advocate uh, uh, who are very into and are huge advocates of running. They were attacking me like crazy with comments on, this is so preposterous. How would you ever say that? And I listed reasons underneath. And
Hmm.
they went something like, um, most people can't handle joint impact. Most people have bad running form and are creating more imbalances in their musculature and their skeletal muscular system. Um, Most people would benefit spending their time doing some other form of exercise that was more productive for their shortcomings. And um, there are a large number of people who are addicted to running, and lose sight of other things. And I said specifically, there's this group of people who are very skinny, who don't really eat enough of a balanced diet because they focus too much on carbohydrates to produce energy for their runs.
Hmm.
And that creates more imbalance in their digestive system, in their skeletal muscular system, etc. And when I posted it, I thought, wow, what a well thought out post. Like, there's some stuff to back it. Uh, I didn't make any grandioso things because what I was alluding to is that most people, was not saying that running is bad for everybody. I was not saying that people should not run. I wasn't saying that it can't be a very healthy thing for a lot of people to also do. I was just saying that I think a lot of people are actually hurting their selves by going for a run. Um, Once again, they could spend their time doing other things that would be more productive for their health. And it did not. There was a fair share of, maybe 30, 40 people that were like, yeah, that makes perfect sense, totally agree, I think this, that, and the next as well. And then there was a lot of people that were shaming me for ever saying that. And a lot of them took it as a personal, like, I was
Attack.
telling them they should not run.
Mm.
And they made comments like, yeah, and it'll hurt my knees too. I've been running 500 miles every year since I was 25, and now I'm 75. And, or, I've never had an issue. Or, yeah, that's what the other doctor told me too, is that running was going to hurt me. And then 10 years later, here I am, better and healthier and stronger than I've ever been. And all I said to all those people was like, congrats, you're not the person I'm talking about, you know?
Yeah.
So it goes to show that, um, black and white is not the way to go, but it does create conversation. And
Yeah.
not everybody has that grain of salt mentality where they can take something and take a piece of it and go, huh, I see what that person's saying. I'll add that to my equation of things that I put together in a bowl and call my world, and then I'll move on. So, um, where do you stand? What do you think on it?
Well, I wanted to like this kind of goes back to the question that you asked me, why didn't I comment?
Uh-huh.
And like for the record, I can take heat. I'm very
Yeah,
I can take it.
yeah.
And just just lately, I guess I'll say just lately, I've had a problem with, well, first I should say I love comment sections. I read more of comment sections than I like look at the post, but I think because of that, my brain has interpreted, how do I say this? I feel like there are so many close-minded people that even if I said something,
Hmm.
they are fixed on their, and I'm not saying like you, I'm saying like anybody who could potentially comment on my comment. They're
Correct.
so close-minded that like what's the point of me saying something if you're not gonna
Mhm.
like just take something in new and be like, I don't
Yeah.
agree, but right? And so, and then there's another piece of me that I'm still healing where I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. So I'm like,
Valid.
if I go on Dylan's post and I'm like, yeah, but and blah blah blah, I didn't like, yeah. So that's something I'm still working on, but I can take heat,
Yeah.
right? Like if I
Yeah,
post something and somebody gives me shit, I can
that's
take it.
fine. Hmm.
I put a post up once. So a long time ago when I was in like oh my gosh, entrepreneurial school, like
Uh-huh.
learning how to be an entrepreneur. One of our assignments was to put up something controversial that I
Mm.
100% believed in, and I said, Psst, just so you know, complex carbs are good for you.
Oh, that's a good one.
And there was one person who just went off on me and she was like, I have this and this disease and I can't process carbs and blah, 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 blah. So before she's like, I know you're into health and fitness and all, but you should leave it to the professionals. I'm like,
Oh,
what do
yeah.
I do for a living? And so yeah, it was just this big thing. So like I can take it and just lately I feel like, and
Giving it,
I
yeah.
could totally be wrong, but I feel like there's so many closed-minded people. There's no point in putting my energy into something that's not going to be useful. Does that make sense?
Valid. That's a great point.
Hmm.
I think yes, 100%. I think if you do have the energy, um, and you do have the ability to like take the heat or just avoid the heat, like post and ghost, uh, then I think it's a worthwhile thing to get your ideas and thoughts out there for the simple fact that one, um, you will get the negatives, but there also can be a lot of positives that come out of it, right?
Yeah.
Uh, because if you're someone who isn't that close-minded and then you do get feedback, like I was able to look at that post and go, huh, okay, next time I say something like this, I can be more clear, right?
Hmm.
I can put, for those of you who are avid runners doing X, Y, and Z as well in your health regimen, this does not apply to you. Now, if I had put that, all of those things go right away, you know? So I
Yeah.
could have done a better job. Uh, and I too had someone comment, um, says the certified athletic trainer, what the fuck does he know
Yeah.
about he couldn't be a nurse, he couldn't be an EMT, and those guys get no anatomy and physiology training at all in their education. And I was like, well, yeah, if I wanted to be a nurse or EMT, I would have just went to school for that. But thank you. And anatomy and physiology was the only thing I focused on for 4 years in undergrad. It was all I learned. I could tell you every ligament, I could tell you every bone, I could tell you every nerve, the nerve ending, the muscle, where it
Mhm.
connects, where it originates and inserts. I go, so I think I know what I'm talking about, but I appreciate your insight, you know. And she ended up deleting the comment. Um, so it just goes to show that I think you can win people over in some regard. Or that, you know, maybe we could have had a conversation that could have brought some more insight to somebody. And maybe
Mhm.
it would have just been that someone saw my post and felt like crap about it because they feel like they're not doing enough or thinking about it as much, but they might have read the comments and might have read what you had to say earlier and gone, all right, well, that makes me feel better about it,
There's
right?
still time. There's
there
still
is there is still
time.
time.
I mean, your post is still there, right?
Tune into the comments, guys. Tune into the comments. You'll now see a long conversation. Yeah, no, I you know, there's always going to be exceptions to the rule. So no matter what you say, I feel like someone could come out and go, but I have ABCDZ disease and that's not good for it. You know, like spinach
Yeah.
isn't good for everybody, but
Hmm.
I'd argue that spinach is pretty healthy for most people, you know? Somebody could be allergic to blueberries, but like most people eating blueberries, probably a net positive, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's how I think of it. But great question, great points.
Yeah.
Complex carbs for the win.
Complex. Yeah. What I did know about this person was that she was kind of like lived in that victim mentality all the time. And
Yeah,
what was really
spontaneous.
interesting is my husband was going back and forth with her, and he's like, so I'm curious how a nutritionist is not qualified to make this
Yeah.
statement. And then I ended up saying something like um I hear what you're saying, and I should have put generally. Like the word
Yes, correct.
generally complex carbs. I mean, even
Someone,
go
oh,
ahead.
no, go for it.
I was just gonna say, like, even simple carbs are good for you in the right situation. Like, if you're running a marathon, you
Yeah.
need them to for the energy to keep going. But go ahead.
Case in point,
Yeah.
I actually lead when a lot of people go, is this bad or good? My first thing is like, I mean, define bad or good. Did
Mm-hmm.
I say this last time? Have you ever heard the Chinese proverb about what is bad, what is good?
I
The
don't think so. That doesn't ring a
Chinese
bell.
Chinese farmer, um, he loses a horse. He sends his son into the woods to go find his horse. Uh, Everyone in the village is basically coming up to him and going, "Oh, I'm so sorry you lost your horse. It's such a tragedy. I'm so sorry. This is so bad." And his answer always, who's to say what's bad or good? The following day, his son is still out looking for the horse, and uh, the horse ends up coming back, right? Everyone goes, "Oh my gosh, it's so good, amazing, blah, blah, blah." But his son had not come back. So they're giving him both. Well, oh my God, that's good, but that's bad, blah, blah, blah. He always says who's to say what's good or bad? His son ends up coming back, but he has a broken leg. He broke his leg while he was out there. Same thing, bad or good, bad or good. Oh my gosh, what a tragedy. Your son broke your leg. The following day, Chinese army comes to recruit everyone in the village who is under the age of, let's say, I don't know, military age. And the son can't go because he has a broken leg. Everyone's like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. That's so good. That's amazing. Your son didn't have to go to war. How lucky. Who's to say what's bad or good? And the
Mm.
story continues to go on, but I'll save us time. There, there is no bad or good. There's like case in point, time and place. And you could argue that like sugar is not good, but when your blood sugar is dropping and you're having, a diabetic attack, sugar is fucking great. It's
Yeah.
life-saving.
Hmm.
I heard a story the other day of some guy during World War I who he had to consume so much speed because they were getting captured, and he ate all of enough speed for 34 guys, because you know how they used methamphetamines during the wars to like keep soldiers,
Yeah.
basically vigilant. And this guy lasted for 14 days without his team in the middle of the wilderness after getting shot, after getting broken, getting his foot blown off, after breaking his arm. And he basically went through this crazy journey for 2 weeks all by himself while he was hallucinating so much on methamphetamines. But his body survived because of the methamphetamines, right?
Mm.
So if he had experienced all those things and he wasn't on methamphetamines, he would have died. But in this case, he had enough methamphetamines for 34 fucking
Meth
people.
is good.
And in this case, it saved his life. So there is this, there's this idea of what's bad or what's good, but everything has its time and place. Everything is here for a reason, in my opinion. Um, and everything can be looked at through this lens of like there is black, there is white, but most things are in the gray. You
Yeah.
know, um, it is what it is. That's the world we're living in. We're all trying to figure out how to share our ideas without stepping on other people's toes, but without, just blindly leading other people's, blindly leading or blindly following other people's ideas as well. Now, with most of the people that you are working with, um, how is it that how long do you find that it takes for people to overcome this healing process where they were too far in one direction and now they're trying to move back in the other direction? Obviously, it's not the same all the time, but is
Yeah.
there a general time frame?
I'm gonna say no. It's just so different for everybody, and
Mm-hmm.
it really depends on like the messages, basically the messages and programming they got growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And like I can only share my story, which I don't know if you're interested. I finally finished my About Me story. It takes
Let's
about a
go.
half an hour to read.
Okay.
If you're
Love it.
interested, I'll put it in the show notes too, but it I did it that way so that people could see where I came from and how I ended up in this mindset of I have to go hard. I can't mess up. If I mess up, I'm gonna be in a ball on my bed crying my eyes out because I'm a
Mm-hmm.
failure because I ate a bag of chips, that kind
Mm-hmm.
of thing. And so, and because it's the same with clients, like we all got different messages growing up. Even if some messages were similar, each
Mm-hmm.
individual had different things going into their brains. And I sometimes I don't like using the word programming because we're not robots, but
True.
essentially that's what it is. Like
No,
we grow up.
that's a good word for it.
Yeah. And so it depends on what the messaging and programming was growing up, how open they are to exploring it, how open they
Mm-hmm.
are to going deep, because I go deep with people. Like I, I'm also trained as a neurotransformational coach, and in that sense, most of the time we'll go back. Like I can take them back to moments in their past and have
Mm-hmm.
them rewire the way they think about those moments so that not like saying this thing didn't happen to you, but let's change how you relate to it.
Valid.
And
That's
so
great.
that way they can move forward. Like it's real, I go deep.
Yeah, that
And
takes a lot
so
of opening doors and hard questions and tough insights for sure. I can see
yeah.
that. I
So
can see that.
it
Speak.
is hard to say 6 to 8 months. You'll be good.
Yeah, yeah. In just 12 sessions, you'll
Oh
here
God, are
here
we
comes our
gonna do
second
another one?
infomercial. um, Interesting on the About Me story. I saw something a few weeks ago. It was probably a few months ago at this point. Time flies. And it was, have you ever really sat down with your parents and like, gotten their story? And
Mm,
it's a tough thing. Like once you are old enough to go, like, wow, wouldn't it be cool to like now I have all these ideas on how I ended up where I am, but like I've never really talked with my parents about that. By the time you get to that age and realize that, one, you're lucky if your parents are still around, and two, you don't see your parents as much, right? You're living your own life at that point. And so I found these books, and it was called "Let Me Hear Your Story, Mom" or something like that. Let me hear your story, Dad. And I bought them. I bought one for my mom, one for my dad, and then it's got a series of questions in it. Favorite memories. You know, give me uh, give me like your story through your lens. How did you see these things? Why do you think this is that? And blah blah blah. I'm really interested to do it and hear from their perspectives, what they went through. And I feel like if we all did that, it'd give us more insight on how we ended up where we are. And you'd
yeah,
probably be able to um, have different conversations within your own brain about the way that your parents treated you or treated certain situations while you were growing up that you may or may not have a negative or positive relationship with as well.
mm,
um, might be more empathetic, might be more understanding of those situations. And so I also grabbed one each for Amy and I to do, and I put it in Julian's little time capsule.
mm,
And so he'll have it. And we did just find out we're having a baby girl in about 6 months. So very excited about that,
awesome.
and eventually she'll be able to read them as well. But um, yeah, all very good and very exciting things. I thought you might find that helpful, but I assume you do stuff like that with your clients where you kind of dig deep, ask them tough questions, make them reflect back, because I think we get stuck so much looking forward.
Yeah,
Reflecting back can be so insightful in how we got to where we are, why we think and do and act and habitualize certain things. And it always helps. Always
yeah.
helps.
I have a
Mhm.
story to like kind of prove your point.
Okay, let's
Um,
hear it. Mhm.
I am my mom's coach.
Nice.
We did
Not
go,
easy.
I do have to say, we went through a trial period to make sure it's even
It would
possible
work.
because we butt heads a lot.
Yeah, rightfully so.
Um, and so it was this trial period to see if we can separate mother-daughter relationship to coach-client relationship. And
Mm,
it's been working for the last year and a half. So, but because of that,
congrats.
I'm getting to know her a lot better. And when I wrote my About Me story, she's in it.
Mm,
Like she's the one that put me on phentermine when I was 10 years old. Like
ah,
so so I told her, I'm like, I'm putting you in my story because you're part of it, but I want you to know I don't hold
it's
this
all
against
love.
you.
Yeah,
It's I know that you were doing what you thought was best for me in the moment
that time.
based on based on so my grandmother, her mom, was my biggest bully when I was a kid.
Mm,
And now going back into my mom's childhood through coaching and hearing the things that my grandmother did to her, it's like this, like, all is good, all is forgiven. You did the best for me that
you
knew how
could.
to do. And I do know when I was put on that medication as a kid. And for those of you who don't know what phentermine is, um, I was put on phentermine and Pondamin, which when mixed together it was fen-phen, which was taken off the market because people were dying of heart
Yeah.
failure, some valvular disease or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Um, so, but she
Almost
put
like
me on that.
methamphetamines.
Hmm. Yeah. So, because when I was 10, I was fatter than her, but she was also in like her another round of disordered eating. Like she grew up on diets because of who my grandma was. So my grandma was in her ear
Hmm.
about me. And
Yeah.
so like I told her I'm like all is good. I get it and you're okay. And I had to tell her that. Um
Yeah, it's like a
yeah.
disclaimer. Hey, I'm gonna put you in my story, but
Yeah.
it's not out of spite. It's out of, just fact, and I don't hold it against you. It's all love. I
Yeah.
can see that. I totally
Hmm.
understand that. I know I've heard that from clients of my own that
Hmm.
have gone through stuff like that. Basically being pushed and bullied, right, for lack of a better term, into destructive habits. You
Hmm.
know, my parents put me on Adderall when I was in second grade. If I could go back, I wouldn't have done that, right? I didn't make that decision. They made it
Yeah.
for me at that point. And they didn't know any better either. Now, it made me a totally different person when I took it and when I didn't. Some days
Hmm.
at school, um, it's funny when I would get on the bus in like fifth, sixth, seventh grade, my friends would be like, "Did Dylan take his Adderall today?" And if I would like be like, "No," and I'd like be all excited and be super like social and funny and yes, I was hyperactive. I was a fucking 12-year-old boy who loved sports and had a lot of energy and robustness to me. Um, I wasn't designed to like sit in a fucking chair for an hour at a time and stare at
Yeah.
some, boring teacher talking about, I don't know, 1852 or whatever. That just didn't interest me at the time. Or if we had done it in smaller bouts, I'm sure I could have sat there for 25, 30 minutes, but 50 minutes to an hour would, you lost me. I'm gone. So like it's funny because other days I would take it. I'd sit there, someone would say something funny, yeah. Like I was half of the person that I normally
Yeah.
was or that I could have been. And it probably did help in some ways that I improved my grades. But I think it definitely led to different things, some of which was like puberty. I hit puberty very late, and I think that might have played a factor in that, in the way that my body progressed, and the amount of weight that I held. Like I'm, on the end of the spectrum, like ectomorphish, where it was a hard gainer, hard for me as a
Right.
boy who was trying to play a college sport. I had to like flush food down my system to just gain a pound. Um, and rigorous amounts of exercise and working out. And so that stuff, now I have a testosterone issue. Did that play a factor in all of that? Because I didn't eat a lot when I
Hmm.
took the Adderall. So, all those things play a factor. I
Yeah.
would I would go a whole day without eating and then just, eat dinner. And so I'm sure that played a factor in my growth patterns. Um, socially, psychologically, all of those things. So, uh, it is what it is. I don't hold it
Yeah.
against them either. They didn't know any better. I'm sure they would make a different decision now. I too helped both of my parents, but never, like on and off throughout the years, never
Mm.
super consistently. And part of that is because I moved away. And, that plays a factor, but it is what it is. Love to see them
Yeah.
trying to do better.
Yeah. It's cool too because I feel like I have this relationship with my mom now where she looks up to me now.
That's amazing.
So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
feeling as a kid to be able to give back.
Hmm.
Um, my parents were just in town this weekend. My mom came into town. Her back was hurting. It was like really bad. And I almost immediately I got my table out. I put her on my table. I started doing stuff with her. I started helping her out. Did some soft tissue work, some cupping, some Graston, some massage. And seeing her get up off the table and be like, wow, that it's not perfect, but it feels a lot better. Like, thank you. That's a good feeling. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's
I
cool.
just want to do that as much as possible because, like I said earlier in the show, we're not all blessed with the opportunity to, um, you know, no one comes into a perfect world, but when you get to that point, especially when you have your own family, you go, wow, like, I have a lot to be grateful for as as I was growing up and when I was a kid, and maybe never everybody does, but I'm sure there's always something you can look at or someone that um, you have the feeling and the need to like give back to, and for me, that's my parents, my siblings, so I try to do that as much as possible. You
Yeah.
know.
Well, with that in mind, I have one more question for you.
Love it. Let's wrap it
And
up.
um, you might have the same answer, you might not, but I'm gonna ask, and I ask it differently now. So,
Ooh,
if everybody on Earth stopped what they were doing and looked at you and said, "Please give me some advice," what would you say?
use Chat GPT to learn as much about your body as possible. Boom.
Boom. There
Full
you go.
stop.
Mm-hmm.
Anatomy, physiology. I was asking it this morning, traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine questions, trigger points,
Mm,
meridians. I mean, our access to information is so just literally right here at the edge of our fingertips. So I think we need to take advantage of that. And it stirs back to the point I made about if we had more education about how our bodies worked, we would be much more apt to take care of it and to take care of it intentionally and in a way effortlessly as well. It wouldn't be, up front, there's a lot of legwork, but once you know what you know, you're able to do things that benefit you in the moment and long term much more effortlessly.
mm.
So,
Beautiful beasts. Dylan Foss signing off. Until next time.